Very direct question to Dr. Mailwaganan. Why doesn't China think North Korea is? Why does China think North Korea is not a threat to them?
Yeah.
Simple reason is, as of now, they don't believe that North Korea is a threat. The threat for everyone is US in the region. So that's a major the understanding we should have. And second is, understandingly from the literature which is available, that some of the program which carried out by North Korea, it is with the understanding of Chinese. So if they have done and engaged the China about what they're going to do, it cannot be seen as a threat to them, right? If they have gone against the China and if they want to have their own, then you can probably say, but now there is a tactical understanding between them that you do something which we will not see as a threat because you are having a major enemy sitting across the Pacific Ocean. So in that context, I said it is not a threat for them.
Yeah, thank you. I think Senior Colonel would wish to say something.
Thank you for your questions. Because it's a question concerning China, probably I can add several words to that. Really, it is a hard question to answer, whether North Korea is a threat to China. To my understanding is that if North Korea is stable, and it will not be a threat to China. But if a war, a conflict, or the internal instability in North Korea happens, so that would be a threat to China. And China's policy towards North Korea issues is quite clear, that no war, no nuclear, so peace talks to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My question goes to the speaker, Dr.
Excuse me,
Malik. I'm the Vice Chancellor.
Yes, please.
Recently, I had the opportunity of going into North Korea, the border, South Korea and North Korean border. And one great experience that I had was to see the model, the peace model that they have adopted. The model was, it's like the demilitarization zone, and then the methods they have adopted. One is the peace village. The peace village concept, there are 2 villages either side. And it's a real model that worthwhile to study, how to prevent a conflict, or rather escalation of a conflict, how to prevent escalation. And then the use of United Nations, or the intervention of United Nations soldiers and the people there, how to, they control the movements. And it's a wonderful model that anyone to study to prevent a violent conflict or escalation of a conflict. There are a lot of models in it. Have you ever had any similar study done in your study?
To honestly say, we have not heard anything, but we have a team of political scientists and scientists working in our project in the program department. The scientists with the technological background, they will be having understanding on the missile programs and nuclear issues. As a political scientist, I've been seeing the strategic issue, foreign policy, and then the security components of it. And what you rightly said is that they have their own peace model and a development model. The internal issues have not focused here. But to get an understanding, we spoke to some of the ambassadors who served, Indian ambassadors served in North Korea, and then we said, see, if you see the society, they have their own development model, and everyone wants peace, like what India, Pakistan also. The common people doesn't have any issues, or no, even say North Korea. They want to be unified, they want to have certain things, but it's a regime. It's trying to play out something. So that's my answer, but I've not heard anything else on this.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes, please.
I'm Firoz Khan. My question to Colonel Jin Song. Many years back, the Chinese President Hu Jintao was reportedly had said that there is something called the Malacca dilemma. That do you ever think that there is going to be a situation where Straits of Malacca could be blocked and that could affect China trade? It was called strategic dilemma associated with the Chinese president. What are your thoughts about it?
Thank you, sir, for your questions. But for Malacca Strait, it is, I think it is very important for China because we heavily depend on the trade. And Malacca Strait is one of the sea line of communication choke points for China. And, but to some extent, we are quite worried about whether these some country go against China, will cut the Malacca Strait. So the energy import, the trade from Malacca Strait will be stopped. So that will greatly affect China's national security. And from Chinese perspective, we do not want to threat any other countries. And we want a peaceful development because peaceful development, a peaceful environment, that is in line with Chinese grand strategy. Our objective is quite clear: to achieve, to develop our country, to become a moderate, developed countries around in 2050, around that time. So how to achieve that depends on a secure environment. So we are quite confident in the current international system, we can develop very well. From the past 30 years experience, we have kept a very high-speed economic development. And if you go to China in the 1980s, and if you visit China right now, you will see the great difference. So we are quite confident in achieving our national objective through peaceful development. So there is no need for China to threat others, to destroy so nice environment for our development. So there is no need. But we really sometimes we are quite worried about if some countries do not want to see this kind of peaceful development. So to stop or to create problems in Malacca Strait. So that will have a great impact on our national security. So we tried to find some another kind of way to import energies, for example, from Central Asia or from Pakistan through the CPEC, through that region. And also, we want to develop a kind of relationship with Malaysia, with the country concerned in the region. And also, we want to develop the relationship with those countries which believe that China is a threat. So to make them understand that China is not a threat. So this is cooperation and common development. We believe it is the only way to ensure the smooth movement of free navigation or a safe sea line of communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other questions at this point? Are you? Yes. Yes. Second question for Professor Naik.
Yeah, thank you, sir. This is once again, anyone can answer. After listening to the presentation, Senior Colonel Jin Song, as well as Brigadier Wahid, both of you were talking about national security. You were referring to the need for a new concept of security, and you outlined what some of those security are. And in your presentation, you particularly referred to economic security is also a national security. Now, the response to the last question that was raised, asked from Senior Colonel Jing Son, your response was that economic security is Chinese national security. If that is if economic security is national security, it should be the same for all the other states in the world as well, isn't it? To Sri Lanka and to America as well. So when America is trying to go along the economic security, define American economic national security along the lines of trying to redefine national security also along the lines of economic security for America, why everybody is so worried about it?
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your questions. And in the past, when we talked about national security, it mainly means the military security. We call it traditional security. But to our understanding that currently the areas or spheres of national security has been largely extended. So we believe that currently national security may include economic security, military security, and cultural security, social security, and or environmental security, etc. So it's become a very comprehensive one. So when we deal with these kind of security challenges in different areas, we have to adopt a kind of comprehensive way. So this is why our President Xi Jinping has right now put forward a security concept that is comprehensive national security. And concerning the security, economic security, really, I think China and the United States are interconnected in economic issues, economic areas. The trade volume between China and the United States right now has over $500 billion US. So we depend on each other. So that is why sometimes we believe American is our competitor, but sometimes we believe Americans are our close friends because we depend on each other. We are not very worried about the worsening relationship between the two sides because the U.S. hit China, the U.S. will hit themselves. So we believe that through these kind of close cooperation and joint development, and we can largely prevent serious conflicts between China and the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. I think General Wahid wants to say something on that.
Well, for a country like Maldives, which only exports fish and imports everything, our economy is very much fickle and fragile. And we heavily depend on tourism and fishing industry, which we get most of our foreign exchange and income. So anything that happens to these two sectors, especially tourism and fisheries, may affect our whole country. So we give a lot of priority in protecting and safeguarding these two sectors. So we consider our economic security as one of the important survival aspect that we to survivability of our country. That's why we consider economic security as an important aspect. So.
Thank you. Unless you have any pressing questions, can I take? Yes, Professor Khan, you maybe the last question.
Sorry, my question again to Colonel Jin Song. Sorry, you mentioned in your presentation China as the largest developing country in the world. Of course, everybody else in the world thinks China is already a great power, so they were being very modest about it. But you mentioned in your presentation about the interstate relation of great powers, Russia, China, US, and other countries. Chinese interests in the global world is seen other than these countries as well. In Africa, there's a lot of Chinese economic activities in Africa, in South America. Would you like to comment about other parts of the world, what Chinese interests are there, and how your interstate relations with these countries are affecting your relations with other powers in the region? Thank you.
Colonel, please.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. And really, in the past, in 1980s, just as at the beginning of Chinese reform and opening up policy, really at that time China has no much contact with the other part of the world, and China do not have so much overseas national interest. But through the years, and right now, we believe that we have national interest in all over the world, because we have economic relationship with most, I think, all the countries in this world. So we have a lot of investment. We have import materials, energies, and also we export our products to various countries. So we believe that really we have overseas national interest around the world. And in recent years, we have developed our relationship with the African countries greatly, and a lot of investment in African, and also including in energy areas, in also infrastructure, building infrastructures. So these raise the questions how China to deal with those overseas national interests. And to my understanding, the best way is through cooperation. And sending Chinese military overseas to protect our national interest is not in line with our national interest, because it is very hard to really to protect it. So the best way is to develop good relationship with the capable countries, that we will have more security cooperation with African countries to help them to build their national security strengths, so they can look after their national security themselves. And they are very good friends of China. So it is, I think, the best approach for China to safeguard our national interest overseas. And also, I think if there something happens, especially, its better way is to, through legal way, through dialogue and negotiation. Thank you very much.